Hey, how's it going, you? Now, passive income is something that we all really want. However, it can feel like that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that we just can't quite reach. Well, today I'm going to show you my income streams of how I did it and what it takes to make over $20,000 a month, including my YouTube revenue. Now, my name is Kai. Welcome to the channel if you're new. Now, as many of you already know, I'm a normal dude who was able to leave the day job at 27. I bought some land, hand built my own home, and then now I live mortgage free and do the whole essentialist lifestyle thing. On this channel, I go over the different ways of generating income and the basics of financial education that for some reason our school systems just won't teach us. But if that piques your interest, get started by subscribing right here or that big red button just down below. Let's do this. Slap hands, bump fist, let's go. So not to pop your bubble, there's only really two proven long-term passive income strategies: stocks and real estate. Most anything else is really short-lived or truly just isn't passive income. So sorry for the clickbaity thumbnail. It's sort of true, but you'll see what I mean here in a second. But don't get too upset and leave just quite yet. I do make a good amount of money passively, but the large majority of my revenue does come from active income that takes me a few hours each week to actually produce. Not exactly truly passive, but I would definitely throw in the category of low effort, high reward. So before I jump into all the categories, I want to preface this as this is just a snapshot of what I've done in my past. In my world, there's turnover, market changes, and other factors that cause me to shift my money around. But it'll give you a good ballpark idea of what I'm working with and what I've done in the past. So as I said before, there's two main categories I get my income from: active and passive. My active category consists of three overarching areas: property revenue, which is top line revenue from my rentals. Does not include expenses yet, but I'll get into that. My paycheck income. This income is when I trade my time directly for money. This is like freelance, contract work, coaching, etc. And then we have the creme de la creme, YouTube revenue, which is basically just ad revenue at this moment. Next, I'll get into my passive income where I do no work and money just accrues. There is an asterisk here though, which I'll get to in a little bit, so make sure that you stick to the end. These categories here consist of my dividends / interest, stocks, and then of course real estate. All right, so let's start over here with my active income under properties. Now these were my most active rentals, both ones that I owned and managed, and generated a decent amount of revenue for me. Now these combined spit out roughly between $16,000 to $17,000 a month. Now remember, this is gross. So really what I was actually taking in after mortgages, rent, expenses, and that stuff, it was closer to maybe $9,000 or $10,000, give or take a little bit. Next is my income from paychecks. I do take on certain projects and I coach on the side, and so I have some basic income trickling in from freelance work, contract work, that type of stuff. This can really fluctuate quite a bit, but on average it's between $1,800 to $2,000 a month. Right now, just to keep it easy, let's say it's $2,000 a month. And then the one that most of you are probably very curious about is YouTube. My biggest windfall, an astonishing $40 to $50 a month. Now, a lot of other videos that you guys see, most of their passive income comes from this area. Good for them. They've got great channels. Mine's kind of flip-flop. Most of my income comes from here, and then we'll get over here to the passive side here in a second. I want you guys to realize one thing. This amount, even less than this, is how all of these other categories start for, maybe not paycheck. Paycheck started off as a salary. But for all of these things, it always started off really low. It just takes some time to build. You can do a lot of stuff with 40, 50 bucks. And if you're really savvy, you could even reinvest that into the market. So every dollar helps. And hey, if you want to help me and the channel out, hit that thumbs up button if you're liking this video so far. Thanks. All right, so this gives me a gross total roughly $19,500 in my active income. Remember, this still doesn't take out the expenses yet. You take out expenses, it's probably closer to about $11,000 to $12,000. But remember, running like a business. When we look at revenue, we look at top line. All right, now let's jump over here to passive where things start getting a little bit more interesting. Now, if you watch this channel and you know me, I don't really invest in the stock market that much anymore. I still have a relatively small portfolio, but it's rather meager when you compare it to my real estate portfolio. So right here under dividends and interest, I make about $400 or $500 a month, depending on how things go, obviously, and where interest rates are. Now with stocks and real estate, I'm gonna put an asterisk right here for right now. I have roughly about $40,000 in my stock portfolio right now. Now, the last couple years, it's been insane at the growth. We can't use that in perpetuity. What we can do is an average of the market, which is roughly about 4 to 5%, depending on the industries and how well you invest. Let's do something a little bit more conservative. Let's say 4%. So 4% of $40,000 in growth, assuming that I just leave it in there, which I probably will, is about $130 a month. So each month, my stock portfolio is growing by roughly $130. Not bad, passively. I don't have to do anything. I probably have to manage it a little bit, but other than that, I can count on about $100 every month. Now down here, things get a little really interesting. Equity in property is subject to the market, just like almost basically everything else. So right now, my real estate equity can fluctuate between like 1 million all the way up to like 1.3 million, depending on the month and where rates are and what the market's doing and all that stuff. But right now, let's be conservative and let's say that's $1 million. Now the market's been all over the place the last year or two, and the last 5 years, it's been like insane growth in my area of like over 20% year over year. We cannot count on that. More realistically in my area, it's been about 5 to 6% average in the last, I believe it's 60 or 70 years. So let's be a little bit more sound-minded and let's go with the average, and let's just say 6%. So that 6% growth out of that $1 million means that's $60,000 a year, or quick math, $5,000 a month in increase. We add this all up and we're looking at $56.30 in passive income each month, which means that my paper value is increasing by this much without doing any work. And then with a little bit of work, my active income brings me in $19,500. Now here's the asterisk that I was telling you about before about this number. This figure here represents both cash and paper value. Those two are very different. And you need to understand that when we start talking about passive income. Here's the difference. It's similar when they say, for example, Elon Musk is worth $20 billion. Now, he doesn't actually have $20 billion in his bank account and just to spend like cash. I doubt he even has $1 billion in cash. It's all paper money, meaning that it's tied up in equities, investments, and other non-liquid assets. Most investors and wealthy individuals, they don't keep it in cash because cash is where money goes to die. You want your money to be invested and out there working for you. So that's the same with my real estate. My $1 million plus value is on a piece of paper. It's whatever my properties and what the equity is worth in the marketplace. It can go up, it can also go down. So there's some months where I'll actually even have negative passive income. But all in all, even though that number can shift quite a bit, you gotta look at the average, you gotta look at historicals, and you gotta be able to project out in the future. And I can confidently say that my passive income, even though it's paper value, it will increase somewhere in the ballpark of $5,000, $6,000 until I decide to cash out and sell said properties. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So you can see that there's nothing too fancy or crazy going on right here. It's just putting one financial foot in front of the other and just slowly working your way to the numbers that you really want. Now I noticed that this and this seems like a lot of money. And I know to others that this and this seems like very little money. It's all relative. Remember, prioritizing your life and happiness should always come first. What I built here behind me is what is best for my life and what I want to do. Surfing, jiu-jitsu, training, traveling, and be able to work on a very flexible, very loose schedule and still be able to create the income that could support my lifestyle. But just because what I built is right for me doesn't mean it's right for you. I have some friends who almost have $0 to their name, but are perhaps some of the happiest souls in the world. I have some other friends who sacrificed everything to make millions of dollars and make 7-figure paychecks. I decided to go with more of a balanced approach for myself. And I hope that you take some time and think about what's best for you. I want you to take this as an example and use it as a framework to build one out for yourself. And be careful, and I'm speaking to myself here, of judging others based off snapshots of their lives. You always want to be curious about the whole reel of tape leading up to that particular snapshot, because this here behind me represents over 12 years of hard work, sacrifice, and just extreme due diligence. Who knows? Maybe you can do it in half the time it took me. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you like the chalkboard and my adolescent handwriting. Remember to jump over to my Discord server, link just down below if you want to hang out with me and talk with other like-minded individuals. Love you all. See you in the next video. Peace out.